Hi, I'm Richard Sanchez, and we have come to the end of our demonstrations for the EDL Importer. And we've come to the end of our project, and we are finaling shots, which is a wave of relief. And as we get to the end of our project, we typically get emails from our VFX coordinators who send us lists of 4K finals after they come out of their 4K reviews, and we need to color those shots in the Avid so that the assistant editor knows those shots are finaled and those can be turned over to DI. Now, typically, I would take an email from our friendly VFX coordinator. It would usually look something like this, and I would take these shots and I would search these in the Avid and change their names. But that can get very repetitive and that can take a long time. If you're doing 10 shots, it's not the end of the world, but if you're doing 60, 70 when you get to the end, that can be a lot of work. So this process is going to speed that up. So I'll show you what we have here, and you can see immediately we have a problem. These 4K reviews are typically done from the EXRs, but in the Avid we have MOVs. So these names are not going to match anything in the Avid. But what I can do is I can copy this, and I will take this back to our database, and I'm going to hit the import button under VFX Finals list. And I'm going to paste this in here. I'm going to hit add records. And you can see it parsed everything out and stored it. Now, it's telling me the records are missing, but that's fine for now. We don't need to worry about that just yet. Now what I'm going to do is I need to give it a list to compare to. So in the Avid, I always create a VFX all bin. And you can see this has my old orange versions and my new yellow versions. And so this is my VFX all bin. I'm going to go to File, Export Bin, and I'm going to create a tab delimited of this. And I did one earlier, so there it is. There's our export. And I'm going to use tools and I'm going to import that. VFX all. And you can see I'm just going to make sure the name, start, end, and source file match up because those are the important fields. I don't need anything else. I'm going to hit import. So there's my list. These are my VFX all. These are my VFX finals. Now, these still say they're missing, and there's a reason for this. So if you're using Avid 2018, you probably imported all of your visual effects. If you use 2019 or newer, you probably linked them and transcoded them. And Avid does something a little differently if you import versus link and transcode. That is, when you link and transcode, the file name does not include the extension, but if you import it, it does. So, if you're using Avid 2019 or newer, there's a button here called Clear Extension, and when you hover your mouse over, the tooltip shows up. Use this to clear the MOV extension if you're on 2019 or newer. So I'm going to hit that, and you can see these fields are now filled out. And the reason they're filled out is because without the extension, this links to a file here. We have a match. So I'm going to be able to select all of these clips. Now it's worth noting there is a good reason why you would want this to flag this as missing. Sometimes you'll get a list of shots that were finaled and maybe they got that version in visual effects and they looked at the EXRs, but they haven't sent that version to you in the Avid. Happens to me fairly frequently. So as you're going through the list, you go, I'm missing a shot, I'm missing a shot. What's nice about this is it allows you to get a list very quickly at the beginning to then turn around to your VFX coordinators and say, hey, I think I'm missing a few shots. Can you send me these? Now you have your list and you can color everything. Very nice. So with our two matches, I'm going to use this option here, Tools, and I'm going to export an ALE. This is from the VFX Finals list section. I'm going to make sure I set the format. I'm in a 1080 project and my frame rate is 2398. I'm going to hit OK and I'm going to set this to our default location. Now back in the Avid, I'm going to select our VFX all and I'm going to go back to our settings, my import settings. I like to always check that I'm at merge events with known sources and automatically create subclips before I do this, and I am. And let's open this folder. I'm going to drag this ALE into my bin. Now remember, it is important that these clips are selected before you do that. If these are not highlighted, you will not get your subclips. So, these by themselves did nothing, because if I right click on these, and I usually set white for my final shot, well, my subclip's finaled, but the shot in the timeline isn't, and that is totally expected behavior. Here's the trick. I keep this bin that I call VFX ref, and I'm going to drag these files in here, and I always have set bin display show reference clips. So as soon as I save this, the referenced master clips are going to show up. And now what I can do is I can take those, and I'm going to color these white. So that's my final color, and you can see those updated in the timeline. And not only did they update in the timeline, they updated in my open VFX incoming bin. Now that was certainly a bit of a to-do for just 2 shots, but in the case that you have 60, that saved you a lot of time henpecking those, especially when your VFX all bins can have thousands of shots if you're tracking every shot that's come in over the course of a series or a feature. The last step is I keep these in a VFX finals bin, so they're safe, and back in my VFX ref bin. Let me open that again because it got closed. I get rid of these subclips when I'm done. One-time purpose, I don't need those anymore. And I've just taken the list from my VFX coordinator and I've colored all of my shots to their final color. Effectively, this would be kind of like a list-based sift in the Avid, but in the absence of that, this is the workaround that we've found, and it allows you to color shots as you get to the end of your project very quickly. That is labeling your VFX finals in the EDL Importer. I'm Richard Sanchez with Master the Workflow, and I hope the EDL Importer saves you a lot of time in your workflow, ups your efficiency, and gets you home sooner. So until next time, I'm Richard Sanchez. I'll see you in the cutting room.